Okay everybody, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make a Celtic knot design similar to this one here. Now there's a few tutorials online that I've watched that show you how to make this shape, but I found them to be a little bit complicated, so I've come up with a method of creating the shape that I think is a little bit simpler. So watch it, see what you think, compare it to the other ones, and use the method that works best for you. So to get started, I'm just going to get this off to the side. And what I'm going to do is choose the ellipse tool and I'm going to draw a circle. So I'm going to hold down control while I'm drawing the circle to constrain it to a circle. I'm going to get rid of the fill. I just want to see the stroke, and we want a stroke of about 10. So I've already got the fill and stroke dialog box open. If you don't, Control Shift F or click down here on the stroke and that'll bring it up for you. So I'm going to use a stroke of 10 millimeters. And I'm going to use the Bezier pen tool to draw a perfectly horizontal line here. So I just hold control to constrain that to the horizontal axis, and then I hit enter to finish that. Spacebar to go back to my select tool, and I want to have this about a third of the way up. I'm just going to drag and draw a group around, or a selection box around both of those. I'm going to go to path, and I'm going to use the cut path command. Now I don't need the top half of that, or the top portion of that circle, so I'm going to hit delete, get rid of it. Now what I'm left with is this line segment, this curved line that I want. That's going to be the basis of my shape. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to go into the view mode. I'm going to go into display mode, outline, just so it's a little easier to follow along with. I'm going to click a second time while the shape is selected, and I'm going to drag the rotation center, and I'm going to snap it to the end of the line segment there. If yours isn't snapping for you, go up into the snapping toolbox and turn on the appropriate snapping commands. And I believe you would want to use, I think it'll be this one here, the corner nodes. But just, you may have to play around with those to get it to snap how you want it to. Okay, so now I've got that rotation handle in at the very end. If I zoom in, you can see it's right there. I'm going to use Control D to duplicate the shape. And I'm going to drag this new shape over till it snaps to the right side of that first line segment. And then what I'm going to do is click on it again to get the rotation handles. I'm going to click and rotate it while holding control to constrain it to, I believe it's 15-degree increments. And I need a shape somewhere. I believe that's about the degree of rotation that I need. So right now I'm going to Control D to duplicate that shape. I'm going to drag it down so it snaps to the bottom of that line. Rotate it again while holding control again, and a little bit further, and there we go. So it creates that shape that we want. I'm going to select everything. I'm going to hit V on the keyboard to mirror it vertically. It just makes more sense to me working with it in this orientation. So now we have our basic shape. Let's just go back to normal view mode so you can see what we're looking at. Now, right off the bat, you might notice that these corners aren't sharp. We're going to deal with those closer to the end. So right now what we want to do is we want to select everything, Control D, and then I'm just going to use Shift and the left arrow to move it out of the way horizontally, but while retaining a precise, repeatable movement, because we're going to need to overlap these shapes back when we get to the end of this design. So now, with this these three items still selected, I'm going to use Control-Alt-C or stroke to path from the path drop-down menu item. Now it doesn't look any different, but if I go into outline mode again with Control-5, I hit it twice, it'll get me there. Now you can see that we have the shape that basically it doesn't have a stroke anymore. So this is just a path with a stroke, and this is an object with no stroke. So I'm going to go back to the normal view. I'm going to select each one of these and give it a slightly, a very different color so it's easier to see what we're working with. Now at this point in time we need to decide which line is going to go over and which is going to go under to create this over-under pattern of the Celtic knot. So we've already got this guy over top of the black, so let's do it that way. So what I want to do is I want to select, I'm just going to make that blue so I can say the blue, the red, and the black. So I'm going to select the blue line. I'm going to Control D to duplicate it. I'm going to shift click on, let's say, I don't know, a yellowy color over here to give it a stroke. So now it has this yellow stroke. It's 10 millimeter stroke. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. Let's use that. So what I want to do now is I want to use Control-Alt-C to convert that stroke to a path. With that new path created, shift click on the black as well, so they're both selected, and I'm going to use Control-, which is a shortcut for the difference command. I call it subtract sometimes. So if I say subtract, I actually mean the difference command. Okay, so we've got this blue going over the black. Now what would happen here is this red would go under the black. So I'm going to click the red. I'm going to Control D to duplicate. I'm going to shift click on a color to give it a stroke. Control-Alt-C, stroke to path. Shift click to select the black as well. Control- for the difference. And there we have what we need there. Now what do we need? We need this blue going under, no, what do we need? We've got this over top. I did that wrong. We want this red to go under the black. So I'm going to use Control-Z to back my way out of that mistake. So what I want to do is I want to duplicate this black. So Control-D to duplicate the black. Shift click a color to give it a stroke. Control-Alt-C, convert that stroke to a path. Shift click the red to select that as well. Control- for the difference operation. There we go. So this blue goes over, this red goes under, and now this blue would need to go under this red at the bottom. So I'm going to duplicate the red. I'm with the Control-D. I'm going to shift click a color to give it a stroke. I'm going to Control-C, convert that stroke to a path. Shift click on the blue, Control-, and there we go. We've got the under, over pattern that defines the Celtic knot. So now to the eagle-eyed observer, you'll notice that these points are messed up. The middle's what we want, but the points are messed up. Over here, our middle's not what we want, but the points are kind of close to what we need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the outline mode, Control-5 a couple times to get there. And what I'm going to use is the node edit tool. So I'm going to hit F2 to bring that up. I'm going to click on one of these curves. I'm going to shift click on the other curve that touches this point. And then I'm going to click and drag around that top node or the top two nodes to select them both. And I'm going to join selected nodes. I'm going to repeat that for the remaining 2 points. And now I'm going to use Control-5 to go back to normal view mode. You'll see that I now have rounded but pointier corners than we started off with. So that's pretty much what I want. So I'm going to use, I'm going to hit Escape to go to my Select tool. You could also use Spacebar probably to get back there. I'm going to draw a selection area around all of those items. I'm going to use Control-Alt-C to convert those strokes to paths. So let's go back into the outline view mode. So now you can see I have this one complete shape. I no longer have the curves, the 3 individual curves. And what I need to do at this point in time is I need to get rid of this middle section from the shape. So I'm going to combine these 2 shapes, but I don't need the middle here. I just need the points. So I'm going to use the circle tool or the ellipse tool. I'm going to come approximately into the middle, and I'm just going to hold down Shift and Control. Shift lets me drag out from the middle. Control keeps it as a perfect circle. Actually, I'm going to let go of Control and choose Shift. And what I want to do is just sort of the circle around the middle area. Now I'm going to hit Spacebar for the Select tool, Shift click on the Celtic knot shape, Control-, and we've just knocked out that circular shape out of the middle. So now what I want to do is I want to overlap these remaining points with this design. So I'm just going to use Shift and the left arrow to slide it on over into place. And a couple more, and we're nicely lined up. So what I'll do now is I will just draw a selection around both of those. or all of those, I guess, and I'm going to use Control Plus to combine those. And I'm going to go back to regular view mode, and there you have it. Now I have this sort of solid object, and I can give it a fill color. I kind of like this orangey fill color. And if I shift click the black, I'll give it a stroke. And there we go. It's pretty similar to the first one I drew. A little bit smaller maybe, but all in all, pretty similar. Oh, and I changed the way that things overlap. So I guess that's something to be conscious of when you're designing, which way you want it to go. I just sort of started arbitrarily, but this is what I end up with. And so there you go. I think that's a fairly simple method to draw this really cool shape. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.